The path that the sperm follows from the testes to the urethra is first start in the testes, then it goes to the epididymis. Third one is vasa deferentia, then it goes to the seminal vesicle, then to the prostate, and finally to the urethra. And the function of the vas deferens is a muscular tube that travels from the epididymis into the pelvic cavity just behind the bladder. The vas deferens transports mature sperm into the urethra in preparation for ejaculation. The ejaculatory ducts are ducts formed by the fusion of the vas deferens and the seminal vesicle, and these ducts are empty into the urethra. Then the urethra is the tube that carries urine from the bladder to the outside of your body, and in males it has the additional function of ejaculating semen when the orgasm is reached. The seminal vesicles are sac-like pouches that attach to the vas deferens near the base of the bladder, and the fluid of the seminal vesicles makes up the most of the volume of your ejaculatory fluid or ejaculate. The prostate gland is a walnut-sized structure that is located below the urinary bladder in front of the rectum and contributes additional fluid to the ejaculate. Prostate fluids also help to nourish the sperm. And finally, the bulbourethral glands or Cowper's glands are pea-sized structures located on the sides of the urethra just below the prostate gland, and these glands produce a clear, slippery fluid that empties directly into the urethra. This fluid serves to lubricate the urethra and neutralize any acidity that may be present due to residual drops of urine in the urethra. The testicles produce male germ cells or sperm cells and male sex hormones or androgens. They constitute the male gonad. Inside each tested sperm are formed in several hundred semiferous tubules that unite to form the root of channels called the res testis. Small ducts connect to the res testis with the epididymis. The semiferous tubules contain two types of cells: the spermatogenic cells, which will give rise to sperm, to the Sertoli cells responsible for maintaining the produce of sperm formation, spermatogenesis. The epididymis has a body that consists of the epididymis conduct that is very contoured and where the sperm are stored to pass the final stages of their maturation, and a tail or tail of the epididymis that continues with the vas deferens that carries sperm into the ejaculatory duct for expulsion into the urethra. The scrotum is a outer cutaneous sac that contains the test and is located posteriorly in relation to the penis and inferiorly in relation to the symphysis pubis. The scrotum has a muscle called the cremaster, which is responsible for the contraction of its muscle fibers, regulates the temperature of the testicles, because normal sperm produce requires a temperature below the 2 to 3 degrees to a body temperature. The penis is the organ of copulation in men. It serves a common outlet for urine and semen of seminal fluid. It consists of a body and a root. The vas deferens are two thick walled muscular tubes that begin at the tail of the epididymis on each side and the end of the ejaculatory duct. They carry sperm from the epididymis to the ejaculatory duct on one side to side. Within the spermatic cord or supporting structure of the male reproductive system that ascends from the scrotum passes into the pelvis through the inguinal canal and contains the vas deferens, arteries, veins, lymphatics, nerves, and the cremaster muscle. Once inside the pelvis, the vas deferens crosses the uterus and travels between the uter and the peritoneum, then joins the seminal vesicle duct on its side to form the ejaculatory duct. In the hormonal regulation of male reproductive system, there are three hormones which are the principal regulators of the male reproductive system. The first one is the follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, which stimulates spermatogenesis. The other one is the luteinizing hormone, LH, stimulates the production of testosterone, and testosterone stimulates the development of male secondary sex characteristics and spermatogenesis. The FSH is made by your pituitary gland, a small gland located underneath the brain. This hormone plays an important role in sexual development and functioning. In men, controls the production of sperm. Normally, FSH levels in men don't change very much, but in children, these levels are usually low until puberty, when levels begin to rise. The female reproductive system contains two main parts: the uterus, which hosts the developing fetus, reproduces vaginal and uterine secretions, and passes the automatically male sperm through to the fallopian tubes, and the ovaries, which produce the atomically female egg cells. The ovary, the female organ, often paired, that produces ova, and mama secretes the hormones estrogen and progesterone. The oviduct, a duct through which the ovum passes from the ovary to the uterus or to the exterior. The vulva, that consists of the female external genital organs, the oogenesis, the formation and development of an ovum. The uterus, the host of the developing fetus, produces vaginal and uterine secretions, passes the atomically male sperm through the fallopian tubes. The ovary produces the atomically female egg cells, produce and secrete estrogen and progesterone. These parts are internal. The vagina meets the external parts to the vulva, which includes the labia, clitoris, and urethra. The vagina is attached to the uterus through the cervix, while the uterus is attached to the ovaries via the fallopian tubes. At certain intervals, the ovaries release an ovum which passes through the fallopian tube into uterus. If in this transit meets with sperm, the sperm penetrates, immerses with egg, fertilizing. The fertilization usually occurs in the ovary duct, but can happen in the uterus itself. The zygote then implants itself in the wall of the uterus, where it begins the process of embryogenesis and morphogenesis. Oocytes develop the maturity from a follicle. These follicles are found in the outside layer of the ovaries during each reproductive cycle. Several follicles begin to develop external organs of the reproductive female system. The reproductive female system external parts are the external genital organs that include the mons pubis, labia majora, labia minora, Bartholin glands, and the clitoris. The area contains these organs is called the vulva. The mons pubis is a rounded mound of fatty tissue that covers the pubic bone. During the puberty, it becomes covered with hair. The mons pubis contains oil secretion glands and that release substances that are involved in sexual attraction. The labia majora are the big lips are relatively large, fiercely balls or tissue that enclose and protect the other external genital organs. The labia minora, the small lips, can be very small or 2 inches wide. The labia minora lie just inside the labia majora and surround the opening to the vagina and urethra, in which supply of blood vessels gives the labia minora a pink color. The area between the opening of the vagina and the anus below the labia majora is called the perineum. The opening to the vagina is called the introitus. The vagina opening is the inventory where the penis during sexual intercourse and the exit for the blood during the duration of the menstruation for the baby during a birth. Bartholin glands that are located beside the vaginal opening secrete a thick fluid that supplies lubrication for the intercourse. The opening to the urethra, which carries urine from the bladder to outside, is located above in the front of the vagina opening. The clitoris, located between the labia minora and the upper end, is a small protrusion that corresponds to the penis in the male. The clitoris, like the penis, is very sensitive to sexual stimulation, and it can become erect. Stimulating the clitoris can result into an orgasm in the woman.
The hypothalamus produces the hormone-regulating secretion of gonadotropins, GnRH, which stimulates the pituitary gland to produce hormones, in turn gonadotropins, which are LH, which favors the maturation of the ovarian follicle and the secretion of progesterone, and FSH, which stimulates growth normal ovarian follicle. The menstrual cycle or ovarian cycle lasts from 21 to 40 days. The first day of bleeding is considered to be the beginning of each menstrual cycle, day 1, which ends just before the next menstruation. The menstrual cycle is divided into 3 phases: follicular, ovulatory, and luteal. The uterine cycle designates the cyclical function of the uterus that serves to prepare the lining of the uterus, called endometrium, to receive a potential embryo in the event of fertilization. The beginning of the uterine cycle is marked by the onset of menstruation or period, which typically lasts 3 to 5 days. The blood loss corresponds to the elimination of the superficial layer of the endometrium, since this one is rich in blood vessels. Afterward, the endometrium thickens again, stimulated by the hormonal secretion of estrogens. After ovulation, the secretion of progesterone allows the endometrium to undergo the change that will make it fit to host the embryo in fertilization occurs. In the absence of fertilization, a new uterine cycle begins again. The average length of a cycle is 28 days.